animals in captivity that should not be there. I don't think that any orca should ever be taken from its family like most of them are. Most of the orcas that are there are just straight up taken out of the ocean away from their pod, and orcas are such family animals and they have such a matriarchal society that when they're taken from their mothers, they are completely lost. They're put in from the ocean to a very small tank that in relation would be like us going into like a fishbowl. And they rely on their sound and their echolocation, and so when they're put into a tank, it bounces off the walls, and so that's why a lot of orcas like run into their walls from the ocean where they can communicate with their pods. That's how they communicate, and so when they're put into tanks.
Yep. Animals should be free like humans.
Going to SeaWorld? Not on my watch.
Well, I think of the orcas and how like their dorsal fin is like sideways and it just looks really sad and unnatural.
Recently they took a great white shark into captivity, and it was just in Japan, I think, and it died within the first 10 hours of being in captivity because they're not meant to be in captivity. It's different than zoos where there's wild animals. Like, that's a terrible thing too, but like they have open air, and like that's different because air is not the same as water. Like, sound can reverberate and like leave the zoo in the cages, but in water the sound can't leave. The sound's trapped in its space because that's how water works. And so like when killer whales and orcas, like when they're the same thing, but when the orcas, like when they do their call, the sound of their call just stays in the tank, and it just reverberates and like just vibrates back and forth, and it's basically.
I took Gina to SeaWorld when she was about 5 years old. Orca whales were her most favorite animal in the world at that time, and I thought it would be really cool to bring her to SeaWorld to see those animals. When we got there, I was actually shocked that their fins are all curved over, whereas when you see a orca in the wild, their fin is straight up. And when you see these orcas in the cage, their fin is totally bent over and they can't even keep it straight. And that really bugged me. And from that, I did some research and looking at their tank size and figured out why their fins are bent over, and it's really not a good thing for those orcas. It was fun bringing Gina to SeaWorld, but I would not do it again.
Because orcas at SeaWorld are forced to be confined in small areas, the orcas experience premature deaths, collapsed dorsal fins, they don't get to swim their 100 miles like they do in the wild, and cause fights with the other orcas because of stress and anxiety in being such a small space. And they're away from their family.
The tanks of SeaWorld are not only harmful to whales, but they can also be harmful to trainers. Being a trainer is something that a lot of marine biologists dream of, but it can soon turn into a nightmare. This came true when Don Branchew was attacked by Tilikum and was pulled into the pool and killed. It's easy to forget that killer whales are wild, but they are, and they should be kept that way. If you're feeling like you want to help the whales after seeing this broadcast, you can help by calling 555-55. King 5 News. That's all.